Concise and unambiguous phraseology used at the correct time is vital to the smooth, safe and expeditious running of an aerodrome. It's not only the means by which controllers carry out their tasks, but it also assists pilots in maintaining an awareness of other traffic in their vicinity, particularly in conditions of poor visibility. You are now going to hear an example of a poor RT transmission given by a pilot in reply to an air traffic control instruction. The pilot's transmission is unacceptable because of its inaccuracy and sloppiness, and the fact that it contains no precise information which could be of any use to a controller who wishes to ascertain that a pilot has understood the landing information and instructions prior to landing.
Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta Barchester Tower. Runway in use tree 2 right hand. QNH 1015. Report downwind.
Good day and thank you, Barchester Tower. Roger and Wilco to all that. Understand you want me to give you a call when I'm established on the downwind leg. Golf Charlie Delta. You will doubtless readily appreciate that if you are flying in an aerodrome traffic circuit, hearing such a transmission from another pilot entering the circuit would not assure you that you were sharing the circuit with a competent aviator. Controllers will not transmit to an aircraft during takeoff, the last part of the final approach, or the landing roll, unless it's necessary for safety reasons, as it may be distracting for the pilot at a time when the cockpit workload is often at its highest. Local procedures will vary from aerodrome to aerodrome. It's therefore impossible to give examples of every situation which may arise. Shown above are some examples of the more common RT transmissions which you'll encounter at any aerodrome. Departure procedures for a VFR flight are normally very simple. However, both VFR and IFR flights should always get the latest ATIS information.
This is Georgetown Information Mike, timed at 1420 Zulu. Runway 23, right-hand circuit. Surface wind 260 degrees, 10 knots. 10 kilometers in haze. Cloud broken at 2,500 feet. Outside air temperature +7, dew point +6. QNH 1015 hectopascal. On initial contact with air traffic control, confirm QNH and information Mike received.
Where ATIS is not available, then departure information may be requested.
Georgetown ground, Golf Foxtrot Hotel Juliet Mike, VFR to Collington, request departure information.
Golf Juliet Mike. Departure runway 23. Wind 260 degrees, 10 knots. QNH 1015. Temperature 19.
Runway 23, QNH 1015, Golf Juliet Mike.
Taxi instructions issued by a controller will always contain a clearance limit, which is the point at which the aircraft must stop until further permission to proceed is given. For departing aircraft, the clearance limit will normally be the holding point of the runway in use, but it may be another point on the aerodrome depending on prevailing traffic circumstances. The following examples of RT calls illustrate some of the many situations you could experience.
Stephenville Tower, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, Cessna 172, at the light aircraft parking area. Request taxi for VFR local flight.
Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, taxi for runway 26 via taxiway Charlie to holding point Delta 1. Report approaching holding point Charlie. Wind 290 degrees 8 knots. QNH 1010. Time 23.
QNH 1010. Request runway 31, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta.
Golf Charlie Delta, re-cleared runway 31. Taxi to holding point Charlie 1 behind Warrior coming from your left.
Re-cleared runway 31. Taxi into holding point Charlie 1 behind the Warrior. Golf Charlie Delta. Stephenville Tower, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, Cessna 172 at the fuel station, VFR to Walden. Request taxi.
Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, taxi via taxiway Alpha to holding point Alpha 1. Runway 08. Wind 080 degrees 10 knots. QNH 1012.
Taxiing via taxiway Alpha to holding point Alpha 1, runway 08, QNH 1012, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta.
Golf Charlie Delta, expedite lineup and be ready for immediate departure. Traffic on final, runway 08.
Expediting, Wilco, Golf Charlie Delta. Kennington Tower, Golf Foxtrot Hotel Juliet Mike, PA28 at the maintenance area. Request taxi to the Flying Club.
Golf Juliet Mike, taxi via Northwest Taxiway to holding point Romeo. Hold short of runway 06.
Taxiing via Northwest Taxiway to holding point Romeo. Hold short of runway 06. Golf Juliet Mike. Golf Juliet Mike, holding point Romeo.
Golf Juliet Mike, cleared to cross runway 06. Report runway vacated and continue to Flying Club.
Clear to cross runway 06. Wilco, Golf Juliet Mike. Golf Juliet Mike, runway 06 vacated.
Golf Juliet Mike, roger.
When an aircraft acknowledges receipt of an ATIS broadcast, the controller does not need to pass departure information to the pilot when giving taxi instructions.
Georgetown Ground, Oxbow Tree 45, request taxi. Information Charlie.
Oxbow Tree 45, taxi for runway 23 via taxiway Juliet. Report at holding point Hotel Papa. Give way to 747 passing left to right. QNH 1019.
Taxi to holding point Hotel Papa via taxiway Juliet, runway 23, QNH 1019, giving way to 747, Oxbow Tree 45.
At busy aerodromes with separated ground and tower functions, aircraft are usually transferred to tower at or approaching the holding point. Since misunderstandings in the granting and acknowledgement of takeoff clearances can have serious consequences, care should be taken to ensure that the phraseology employed during the taxi manoeuvres cannot be interpreted as takeoff clearance. Note the use of the word departure rather than takeoff.
Golf Charlie Delta, report when ready for departure.
Wilco, Golf Charlie Delta. Golf Charlie Delta, ready for departure.
Golf Charlie Delta, line up, runway 20.
Lining up, runway 20, Golf Charlie Delta.
To avoid any possibility of misinterpreting the words takeoff, they are only used when the aircraft is actually cleared for takeoff. Except in cases of emergency, controllers should not transmit to aircraft in the process of taking off or during the early stages of the climb.
Golf Charlie Delta, wind 210 degrees 5 knots. Runway 20 cleared for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 20, Golf Charlie Delta.
For traffic reasons, it may be necessary for the aircraft to take off immediately after lining up. A typical example of this would be where the controller wishes the aircraft taking off to be clear of the runway to allow an aircraft on long finals to land.
Golf India Kilo, are you ready for immediate departure?
Affirm, Golf India Kilo.
Golf India Kilo, line up, be ready for immediate departure.
Lining up, Wilco, Golf India Kilo.
Golf India Kilo, wind 320 degrees 10 knots. Runway 31 cleared for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 31, Golf India Kilo.
In poor visibility, the controller may request the pilot to report when airborne. Note that when the pilot reports airborne, he also gives the time. When the controller cannot see the aircraft, it's often helpful to report the time when a requested action has been completed.
Oxbow 345, wind 060 degrees 12 knots. Runway 08 cleared for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 08, Wilco, Oxbow 345. Oxbow 345, airborne 57.
Oxbow 345, roger. Contact departure 121.750.
121.750, Oxbow 345.
A conditional clearance is one where a condition must be met before a clearance will be given. This type of clearance will not normally be used, except when the aircraft or vehicles concerned can be seen by both the controller and the pilot. When the conditional clearance involves a departing aircraft and an arriving aircraft, it's important that the departing aircraft correctly identifies the arriving aircraft on which the conditional clearance is based. A conditional clearance will be given as follows: call sign, the condition, the clearance.
Brief reiteration of the condition.
Golf India Kilo, report the Airbus on final in sight.
Airbus in sight, Golf India Kilo.
Golf India Kilo, behind landing Airbus, line up behind.
Behind landing Airbus, line up, behind, Golf India Kilo.
Notice that when a takeoff clearance is issued by air traffic control, the runway number is given immediately before the words containing the clearance.
Golf India Kilo, wind 270 degrees 15 knots. Runway 26 cleared for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 26, Golf India Kilo.
Local departure instructions may be given with the takeoff clearance. Such instructions are normally given to ensure separation between aircraft operating in the vicinity of the aerodrome.
Oxbow 348, climb straight ahead to 2,500 feet before turning right. Wind 220 degrees 18 knots. runway 23, cleared for takeoff.
Straight ahead to 2,500 feet before turning right. Cleared for takeoff, runway 23, Oxbow tree forward 8. Golf Charlie Delta, request right turn when airborne.
Golf Charlie Delta, right turn approved. Wind 180 degrees, 7 knots. Runway 20, cleared for takeoff.
Right turn, cleared for takeoff, runway 20, Golf Charlie Delta.
Due to unexpected traffic developments, or a departing aircraft taking longer to take off than anticipated, it may be necessary to cancel a takeoff clearance or to free the runway quickly for landing traffic.
Golf Juliet Mike, take off immediately or hold short of runway 02.
Holding short of runway 02, Golf Juliet Mike.
Golf Juliet Mike, take off immediately or vacate runway 02.
Taking off runway 02, Golf Juliet Mike.
Golf Juliet Mike, hold position. Cancel, I say again, cancel takeoff. Vehicle on runway.
Holding, Golf Juliet Mike.
When an aircraft has commenced the takeoff roll, and it's necessary for the aircraft to abandon takeoff in order to avert a dangerous traffic situation, the aircraft should be instructed to stop immediately. The instruction and call sign should be repeated.
Golf India Kilo, stop immediately. Golf India Kilo, stop immediately. Vehicle on runway.
Stopping, Golf India Kilo.
When a pilot decides to abandon takeoff, the control tower should be informed as soon as practical, and assistance or taxi instructions should be requested as required.
Oxbow tree forward 5, stopping.
Oxbow 345, roger.
Oxbow tree forward 5, request return to ramp.
Oxbow 345, take next right, return to ramp, contact ground 118.275.
Next right, 118.275, Oxbow tree forward 5.
Requests for circuit joining instructions should be made in sufficient time to allow for a planned entry into the circuit, taking other traffic into account. When the traffic circuit is a right-hand pattern, this should be specified by air traffic control. A left-hand circuit need not be specified, although it may be advisable to do so if there has been a recent change. For example, at some airfields the circuit direction on a particular runway may vary for noise reasons. However, if the circuit direction is not specified, you should assume that it is left-hand. As always, if in doubt, ask. Local procedures may require a variety of different RT calls in the circuit. The following examples, therefore, are intended to give an idea of the various types of calls that are made in the visual circuit.
Walden Tower, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, Cessna 172, 10 miles north, 2,500 feet, for landing.
Golf Charlie Delta, join downwind runway 02, wind 030 degrees, 5 knots, QNH 1012.
Join downwind runway 02, QNH 1012. Confirm left-hand circuit, Golf Charlie Delta.
Golf Charlie Delta, affirm, runway 02, left hand.
02, left hand, Golf Charlie Delta.
At airfields where ATIS is provided, receipt of the broadcast should be acknowledged in the initial call to the aerodrome.
Walden Tower, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, Cessna 172, 12 miles east at 2,000 feet with information Bravo for landing.
Golf Charlie Delta, join overhead runway 20, QNH 1007.
Join overhead runway 20, QNH 1007, Golf Charlie Delta.
Depending on prevailing traffic conditions and the direction from which an aircraft is arriving, it may be possible to give a straight-in approach.
Walden Tower, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, Cessna 172, 10 miles north, 2,500 feet for landing.
Golf Charlie Delta, make straight-in approach runway 20. Wind 190 degrees, 5 knots, QNH 1009.
Make straight-in approach runway 20, QNH 1009, Golf Charlie Delta.
Having joined the traffic circuit, the pilot should make routine reports as required by local procedures.
Golf Charlie Delta, downwind.
Golf Charlie Delta, you are number 2. Follow PA28 on base.
Number 2, follow PA28 on base, Golf Charlie Delta. Golf Charlie Delta, base leg.
Golf Charlie Delta, report final.
Wilco, Golf Charlie Delta. Golf Charlie Delta, final.
Golf Charlie Delta, continue approach runway 20. Wind 200 degrees, 7 knots.
Continue approach runway 20, Golf Charlie Delta.
Golf Charlie Delta, wind 190 degrees, 8 knots. Runway 20, clear to land.
Clear to land runway 20, Golf Charlie Delta.
In order to coordinate traffic in the circuit, it may be necessary to issue delaying or expediting instructions.
Golf Charlie Delta, downwind.
Golf Charlie Delta, extend downwind. You are number 2. Follow Cherokee, 4 miles final.
Extend downwind, number 2. Follow Cherokee on final, Golf Charlie Delta. Golf Charlie Delta, downwind.
Golf Charlie Delta, make 1 orbit right due traffic on runway. Report again on final.
Making 1 orbit right, Wilco, Golf Charlie Delta. Golf Charlie Delta, downwind.
Golf Charlie Delta, you are number 1. Make short approach, Cherokee, 6 miles final.
Make short approach, number 1, Golf Charlie Delta.
A final report is made when an aircraft turns onto final within 7 kilometers or 4 nautical miles from touchdown. If and when the turn onto final is made at a greater distance, a long final report should be given. If the aircraft is making a straight-in approach, a long final report is made at about 15 kilometers or 8 nautical miles from touchdown. If no landing clearance is received at that time, a final report is made at 7 kilometers or 4 nautical miles from the touchdown.
Golf India Kilo, long final.
Golf India Kilo, continue approach. Wind 260 degrees, 18 knots.
Continue, Golf India Kilo. Golf India Kilo, final.
Golf India Kilo, wind 270 degrees, 20 knots, runway 24, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 24, Golf India Kilo.
In order to save taxiing time when flying training in the traffic circuit, pilots may ask to carry out a touch and go. The following examples illustrate 3 different responses to a request to carry out a touch and go.
Golf Charlie Delta, request touch and go.
Golf Charlie Delta, wind 210 degrees 8 knots, runway 24, clear touch and go.
Cleared touch and go, Golf Charlie Delta. Golf Charlie Delta, request touch and go.
Golf Charlie Delta, unable to approve due traffic congestion, make full stop landing, wind 220 degrees 7 knots, runway 24, clear to land.
Cleared to land, runway 24, Golf Charlie Delta. Golf Charlie Delta, request touch and go.
Golf Charlie Delta, make another circuit, report downwind.
Wilco, Golf Charlie Delta.
A pilot may request to fly past the control tower or other observation point for the purpose of visual inspection from the ground.
Golf India Kilo, request low pass, unsafe gear indication.
Golf India Kilo, clear low pass, runway 24, not below 500 feet, report final.
Cleared low pass, runway 24, not below 500 feet. Wilco, Golf India Kilo.
For training purposes, a pilot may request permission to make an approach along or parallel to the runway, but without landing.
Golf Charlie Delta, request low approach, runway 24 for training.
Golf Charlie Delta, cleared low approach, runway 24, not below 500 feet, report final.
Cleared low approach, runway 24, not below 500 feet. Wilco, Golf Charlie Delta.
Instructions to carry out a missed approach may be given to avert an unsafe situation. When a missed approach is initiated, cockpit workload is inevitably high. Therefore, any transmissions to aircraft going around should be brief and kept to a minimum. Unless instructions are issued to the contrary, or local procedures are different, an aircraft on an instrument approach will carry out the missed approach procedure, and an aircraft operating VFR will continue in the normal traffic circuit.
Golf Juliet Mike, go around, aircraft on runway.
Going around, Golf Juliet Mike. Golf Charlie Delta, going around.
Golf Charlie Delta, roger, report downwind.
Wilco, Golf Charlie Delta.
Oxbow 345, take first left. When vacated, contact Georgetown Ground 118.350.
First left 118.350. Oxbow 345. Georgetown Ground, Oxbow 345, runway vacated.
Oxbow 345, taxi to stand 27 via taxiway Alpha.
Stand 27 via taxiway Alpha, Oxbow 345.
Essential aerodrome information is information concerning the manoeuvring area and its associated facilities, which affect the safe operation of aircraft. Aerodrome information should be passed to aircraft whenever possible prior to start-up or taxi, and, if landing, prior to the start of the final approach. pilots must be made aware of the information shown on this list. However, the list is not exhaustive, and any information that may affect aircraft safety should be passed to the pilot at the earliest convenient opportunity. Click on Continue to reveal each item of information. Construction or maintenance work on or immediately adjacent to the manoeuvring area. Remember that the manoeuvring area does not include the parking apron. Rough or broken surfaces on a runway or taxiway, whether marked or not. These sorts of surfaces will normally be clearly marked as soon as they are reported. Snow or ice on a runway or taxiway. Information on the amount of snow or ice will also be included if available. Water on a runway. Again, information on the amount and location will be given if available. Snowbanks or drifts adjacent to a runway or taxiway. These present a slightly different hazard to a taxiing aircraft, as low-slung engines or low wingtips may be at risk. Other temporary hazards including parked aircraft and birds on the ground or in the air. Airfields where aircraft are parked on the grass can be hazardous, and of course birds are a constant hazard, particularly in the breeding season. Failure or irregular operation of all or part of the aerodrome lighting system. Any other pertinent information. This would include almost anything that a controller thinks might influence a pilot's course of action when taxiing.